Welcome to the Diabetes Podcast, where real stories meet real science, helping you take charge, not just take medicine. If you've ever Googled natural hunger suppressant, you're not alone. If you've ever said something like, I'm always hungry, I feel out of control around food, or I just want to turn off my appetite, this episode is for you. But instead of quick fixes or gimmicks, we're diving into real science, your gut, your brain, your hormones. Because when you understand what drives hunger and what satisfies it, you stop fighting your body and start working with it. And by the end, you'll have a practical, natural, evidence-based toolbox to feel satisfied without shame, pills, or white knuckling. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to the Diabetes Podcast. I'm Richie.
And I'm Amber.
And Amber, people tell us all the time, I'm just always hungry. So what's really going on?
A lot of things could potentially be going on. I think the biggest thing that I would like for people to recognize is that this is not any kind of a character flaw or not anything that you just need to willpower through. Like usually it's a biological signal. Like there are some clues that something could be in better sync, could be in better alignment. And so typically when people say this complaint, I'm always hungry, there are usually some pretty common background reasons why this could be so. And it might not be all of these, but it's usually at least one or two of these things, if not all of them. So the first one would be not enough sleep. Lack of sleep is a big thing that increases ghrelin. And ghrelin is the only appetite stimulating hormone that I'm aware of. And so a lack of sleep increases ghrelin, this hunger hormone, and it decreases leptin, which is the fullness hormone. So it's like you've got this going up that needs to go down and vice versa. And it can also increase your cravings for high salt, high sugar, high fat foods.
Not sleeping increases your desire for salt?
Not sleeping could increase your cravings for sugary, salt, high fat foods. And then if you're not getting enough fiber, not getting enough protein in your meals, this could cause the food to pass through the stomach more quickly and not triggering stronger satiety hormones in the process. Refined carbs and sugary snacks could also cause this spiking effect of blood sugar. And I always say sugar high, sugar low. So you have this roller coaster effect of some, and even, so this is diabetes or not diabetes. If you have a very simple sugar food, it can cause more of that glucose gets into the system more quickly and raises the sugar level more quickly. And that's why having protein, fiber, fat in the meal and some mixture of that can help keep the sugar levels more stable, keep the cravings more stable. And it helps to prevent this rebound hunger that can come when you have high sugar content foods there as well. And chronic stress, this is a really, really big one. It's hard to be in tune with your hunger and satiety cues when you have this underlying chronic stress, because oftentimes chronic stress leads to chronic inflammation, and stress elevates cortisol, which increases the appetite. And again, cravings for those high calorie, what we would call comfort foods, your mac and cheese, your grilled cheese, those higher salt, higher fat kind of foods. And then there's also,
I think my ghrelin is rising as you're talking about some of those comfort foods. I could feel the swelling ghrelin as you're talking about.
Are you in between a meal? Because ghrelin tends to rise in between meals to signal that it's time to eat again.
We have not had the last meal of the day yet, so.
Okay. Then you can also condition hunger, kind of like Pavlov's dog. You ring the bell, the salivation comes. So
talk about mac and cheese, the salivation
right
comes.
there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
You just had a Pavlovian response to mac and cheese and grilled cheese. But yeah, if you come in the house and go straight for the cabinets, even if you ate before you left work, let's say, and then you come in the house, but your habit is going in and scouring the cabinets for food, you're still going to go scour the cabinets for food. And if you're in tune with your hunger and satiety, hopefully you would stop and say, wait a minute, what's going on here? I just ate. I'm not really hungry. So, if you're always doing that, then your brain is wiring that behavior with you coming in the house. It's kind of how we've talked in the past about stacking habits to something that you're already doing. Hunger works in that same sort of fashion where if you're coming in the house and you're going straight to the fridge, that signals that hunger cue in that moment. Then you also have medications. So as it pertains to someone who is insulin dependent, if you take too much, so insulin is naturally suppressing to the appetite type hormone, because if you eat, insulin is released, your body thinks you're eating. However, if you inject more insulin than you need, then your body is feeling hunger, because in many ways it's like, hey, we're going to have a low blood sugar event, or we feel the sugar dropping really quickly. And so somebody might feel hungry for that reason. Antipsychotic medications could make someone feel more hungry. And a huge medication as it pertains to feeling hungry is steroids, like prednisone major increase.
This would be like if you're recovering from a surgery or something like that.
Yes, or if you had an infection or something that you needed to get over, you needed something more robust, steroids might be given in that situation. And then a big one, I feel like I keep saying a big one, but like some of these really contribute. Dehydration is a big contributor, because many times we mistake thirst for hunger, as both hunger and thirst are regulated in the hypothalamus of the brain, and both neural pathways signal a need, and those neural pathways are closely intertwined, and we're often 1% to 2% dehydrated when we feel noticeable thirst. And at that level, we may also feel fatigue, cravings, low energy. These symptoms overlap with the symptoms of hunger. And some foods, fruits, cucumbers, some other fruits and veggies have a high water content. So your body can associate eating as a way of getting hydration as well. So the brain could learn, I feel better when I eat, even if water alone could have fixed it. So the next time you feel hungry between meals, the recommendation I would say would be to have a cup or two of water and wait 15 to 20 minutes. If the hunger fades, it was likely dehydration, you're thirsty. But if the hunger persists or you're even more hungry, it's likely a true biological hunger. So that's a good way to be able to differentiate between, is it dehydration or am I truly biologically hungry? So along that line of biological hunger, there's psychological hunger, which is different. Psychological hunger is when we eat out of boredom, loneliness, habit. We're eating to fill some kind of need or emptiness that might be going on. And it can feel like real biological hunger, but it's very different. And if you're like, yes, that's me. And I think even if that's not you all the time, that could be you in moments for sure. But big things to ask are you sleeping 7 to 8 hours a night? Keeping that ghrelin and leptin in balance. Are your meals built around protein and fiber, something that's going to enhance satiety? Are you waiting too long to eat? So, not to call you out, Richie, but but I will. You get hyper focused if there's something you're passionate about that you want to go do, which is one of the many things that I love about you. But I've seen you go out first thing in the morning without thinking.
Not eat all day long. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Without thinking like, hey, I need to have some breakfast. I need to nourish my body before I go out and work on this. And then you don't come in the house until like 8 or 9 at night, and you've just worked straight through. And then you're overly hungry at that time, and it's like just ravenous. What I call the hunger monster has been allowed to come out.
I make bad choices.
We all make bad choices sometime. Like, let the perfect person like teach us all how to be perfect, but it doesn't exist, and that's the truth. So is the stress level high? You know, chronic stress, chronic inflammation, those things are going to affect whether you're really hungry or whether you're feeling like hunger. Are you hydrated? When you eat, what does your plate actually look like? So if half of your plate is non-starchy veggies, you're going to allow that fullness to kick in. You know, the ghrelin that builds up in between meals, it has a 30-minute half-life. So it's going to take 20 to 30 minutes after that first bite of food for you to really start to feel full. So that's important to tame that, and the non-starchy veggies help you feel more full, help you chew your food more, eat more slowly, those sorts of things that can help that.
So if we just circle back to something you just said, so just make sure I understand. My body can be releasing ghrelin like almost up to the point in which I start eating. And you're saying that the active ghrelin in my system won't dissipate until 30 minutes after my body stopped releasing it. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of meals don't take 30 minutes for me, period. I think,
Exactly.
I think, OCS kind of ruined me for that, trying to get everything down in 5. So, yeah, that's, I'm sorry. My little hamster is just working right now, trying to
yeah, I mean, time yourself. If you're listening to this, time yourself the next time you eat. I think you'd be quite surprised how quickly you finish a meal.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Okay. So we've talked about leptin and ghrelin. Am I pronouncing those correctly?
Ghrelin and leptin.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as far as I know, as far as I've ever heard it. So sure. Sounds good to me.
All right. So let's get a little bit more into the weeds as far as what chemical and physical signals are actually telling the brain that I'm full. Because really, I think, I don't know that anybody seeks to overeat consistently. We just don't want to feel hungry. So if there's a way that I can kind of game that ghrelin and leptin, maybe some other stuff, maybe there's some strategies that we can.
Yeah, I think in the beginning there are these fast early signals, the stretch receptors in your stomach. And then there are the gut hormones, the GLP-1, the cholecystokinin, the peptide YY. And these things take longer to start to interact in those feelings of fullness, but they last longer as well. So let's talk about the key players within this. So we've talked a bit about ghrelin. This is the hunger hormone. It really is the only real appetite stimulating hormone. And this is secreted by the fundus. There's a fundus among us, the fundus of the stomach, which is that top part of the stomach. And the fundus has an amazing ability to expand, as a side note. And as another little fun fact, people who used to have gastric bypass surgeries or would have like a lap band type surgery, which is where they band the stomach to make it smaller. A lot of those surgeries failed to fully appreciate how much the fundus could expand. And so they finally learned you had to really cut off that portion of the stomach in order to affect the ability for the stomach to hold so much food. But you're also messing with the stretch receptors of the stomach. So you're messing with somebody's ability to feel full. It's just a whole.
So my jaw's hanging open a little bit right now. The release of ghrelin in my body is literally because my stomach's empty. It's like if the stretch response of the fundus is what is turning off the ghrelin thing, then literally you feel the tummy's empty. That's a real thing. There's a hormone associated with empty tummy. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Yeah, ghrelin secretion rises between meals when the stomach is empty. So it really does. It's like it rises to a certain level where it's like, I can't stand it. Yeah. It's like, feed me. So maybe ghrelin is maybe I have a name for the hunger monster his name is Ghrelin. Ghrelin, the hunger monster. Yeah. And it's really what's there to tell your brain, it's ringing the dinner bell, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So then the other hormones, the more delayed type would be GLP-1s. So this is secreted all along the intestine. Yes.
And for those that haven't heard it, we did a deep dive across 2 episodes just on GLP-1. So I will have those links in the show notes, but definitely if you want a incredibly deep dive into all things GLP-1, check those out.
All right. So GLP-1 delays the stomach emptying. It increases insulin, but only in the presence of glucose, tells the brain time to stop eating. And the reason why, as you just kind of pointed out, that medicines like Mounjaro, Ozempic, Zepbound, things like that, the reason they work is because they are mimicking this hormone. And this hormone tends to be more absent in obese individuals. So you're kind of replacing the deficiency in there. Then peptide YY is released by the small intestine. And this is in response to calories, especially protein and fat. And it helps you feel more full in between meals. Mm-hmm. Then you have cholecystokinin, which responds to fat and protein in the duodenum, which is that first part of the small intestine that connects to the stomach. This slows digestion and promotes meal termination. So it's like, we're done now. Then the leptin signals your long-term energy stores from fat tissue. And the interesting thing about leptin is that in people with overweight or obesity, you could get leptin resistance, which could dull that signal of fullness. Mm-hmm. And this is all sent through the vagus nerve, which, if you've ever heard anything about the gut-brain axis, it's connecting your gut to the brain. But as we said, these gut hormones are taking longer to kick in, anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes before they kick in, and then 30 minutes before you really feel some of the effects. So you could, as you said before, you could absolutely eat too fast and miss that signaling. So
if I understand correctly, as far as like sequence of things, my best chance for, let's just say, kind of bridging the gap between ghrelin petering out and the GLP-1, the PYY and the CCK, all of that stuff kicking in is that stretch response. If I can actually fill up the stomach, and I suspect I know what I need to be filling it with, if I can actually get some kind of stretch in that stomach, that's the first cue of some degree of satiation, of I'm full. Is that right?
Yeah, it's those stretch receptors in the stomach that detect the volume.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why your non-starchy vegetables are going to be helpful in this area, because you're getting a lot of volume without a lot of calories to go along with it. But those stretch receptors are going to respond really quickly, like within minutes. And they're going to begin to send these satiety signals through the vagus nerve to the hypothalamus there. But it's the gut hormones that are more powerful and longer lasting. And they respond to what, like, more of the composition of the food that you ate, protein, fat, fiber, not just the sheer volume. And so it sounds like maybe there was a question in there about like which one is more important, stretching of
not so much that.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the clarification on volume versus composition. I'm more thinking this triggers this and then that triggers that, but this triggers this first. And this is just a flow chart to me of satiety,
Yeah, and it's not like 1, 2, 3. It's just where it is secreted. And if you understand the digestive tract, ghrelin is secreted in the stomach, and GLP-1 is secreted along the intestine, and then you've got your peptide YY, and that's the small and large intestine. And of course, insulin is from the beta cells of the pancreas. So it just depends like what it's secreted from kind of depends on where it's going to come into play in digestion. So stretch tells you I'm full now, and the gut hormones tell you I'm satisfied for hours. So in fact, if you have a meal that's really high in volume but low in nutrition, like if you have a big Coke, or you have a soda, or some kind of puffed snack, like a whole lot of Cheetos or something, they can trigger the stretch, but not the satiety. Right. And that's why you don't get as much satisfaction from a soda as you would maybe a really hearty vegetable soup. So speaking of, I might have segued my own self into this soup versus soda study, which I read a very long time ago, maybe I want to say 22 years ago, maybe 23.
Was
24.
it this millennia?
I know it was a while ago, and I think it was like 2001, maybe. So this millennia. Anyway, participants were given a low-calorie vegetable soup before a meal, and they ate about 100 calories less at that meal as compared to those who had a soda before a meal or nothing at all, where they had the same calories. They had 100 calories more. Sorry. So that soup provided volume first and foremost to stretch the stomach. And then it also provided warmth, and the fiber provided viscosity to slow the gastric emptying, or the emptying from the stomach. And then it was a trigger for the gut hormones. And more crucially, it gave time for those signals to register, because you had to, spoonful by spoonful. So that was another thing about the study, is they were like, what was it exactly? I remember at the time they were thinking, was it that spoon to mouth phenomenon? And now it's more about the composition of the soup and the fiber and viscosity and water content versus that high sugar that would cause more of a dumping from the stomach. But because that soda and juice because they did two different trials. So and it was absorbed quickly. Didn't stretch the stomach. It was just straight through. Doesn't stimulate the satiety hormones, and it causes an immediate rise and spike in blood sugars.
And correct me if I'm wrong, like the sugar content of soda and juice are almost identical. Like as far as how your body's going to respond to one versus the other, there's almost no difference.
It's always better to, it's weird because just saying the word always, I'm like, wait a minute, because I really try to refrain from always and never and those type words. But I think, it is always better to have the whole fruit version than juice. Yeah, I guess, okay. Unless you don't have any teeth, maybe, or like you can't, there's some reason it'd be better even to have that fruit put in a blender and don't strain it. But yeah. So try to, have some sort of salad or broth based, not too much sodium, but a vegetable type soup before your dinner, and watch and see if it changes your appetite and helps you eat a little bit less calories.
All right. So I can tell you right now, I'm not going to have the soup before every single meal. Let's talk about
That's a lot of work.
Let's talk about some real food. What can I start adding to, because we're all about adding, not subtracting. What can I start adding to my meals that not only are going to have that volume, but that long-term composition where that's going to bridge me between meals. It's going to help me to stay full between meals. Yep.
I would say protein is really most valuable player when it comes to this. And that we try to support more plant-based versions of proteins here, mostly due to some of the inflammatory properties of animal-based proteins.
Check out the inflammation episode if you haven't already.
And that doesn't mean that we're saying you absolutely can't have meat. We also believe in meeting you where you are, and it's baby steps, small habit changes over time. But with protein, there are plenty of plant-based versions of protein, tempeh, tofu, hemp seeds or hemp hearts, and chia seeds,
avocados, surprisingly, yeah.
Avocados are high in fiber and fat. I don't know, the protein content is okay. All right. It's funny. I will never bet against you ever, especially when it comes to avocados. I love avocados. They're power fruit.
They're a magical fruit. That's not a bean.
Yes, beans, definitely. Eggs. If you're not doing vegan, you could do Greek yogurt as well. Very high amounts of protein in that. These are going to trigger that peptide YY, the cholecystokinin, the GLP-1, all of those gut hormones that are going to trigger satiety. So then fiber, because the soluble
surprise.
Fiber, beans, fiber. Like every episode, I think should be called the beans and fiber episode.
Well, in all fairness, like this is, I'm not an expert in nutrition. You are, but just since doing this podcast, like you hear the same things over and over and over again. Like if I were to point to start here first, it really is just increasing the fiber that you're getting in your diet, because incredibly good odds are you're not getting enough. And that's just normal. We just don't get enough fiber in the diet.
There are many reasons why that is true.
But again, if you just one single nutrient to focus on, this one's a big gaping deficiency that most people have that has some pretty cool effects specifically related to diabetes.
Yeah, it's going to help with cholesterol, But okay, we are on satiety and hunger. So let me stay there. Sorry. Soluble fiber is going to slow digestion and really prolong fullness. So think steel cut oats or groats, chia seeds, flax seeds, lentils, psyllium husk.
Beans again.
I know, beans again. And then omega-3s. These are found in flax seeds, walnuts, algae-based supplements for vegetarians. And these are really linked to greater peptide YY release and delayed gastric emptying. And there are even some studies that suggest that DHA may influence leptin sensitivity. So that would be something to definitely look into if you're having some leptin resistance, perhaps.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but your fatty fish, for those that aren't vegetarians, would be both high in protein and your omega-3s. So that would be a reasonable option, even for those on the Mediterranean diet, to get some of those omega-3s into your
Very good. And then your foods with a high water content, watermelon, cucumbers, grapes, these sorts of things, water-rich, low energy, dense foods. Grapes are a little more energy dense than watermelon, blueberries, most other berries, and
like lettuces and cabbages and
cucumbers,
stuff like that.
lettuce. Yes, absolutely. Zucchini. So
squash,
veggie soup, squash, definitely. Then there's also, like, really feel like we're taking a left turn here, but this is a pretty cool phenomenon. Color psychology. So people eat less well, let me back up. Let me not ruin the punchline here. So if you close your eyes, well, if you're driving, don't close your eyes. Close your eyes. Don't close your eyes. Close them, Tony. If you think about the last time you went into a fast food restaurant, which hopefully it's been a while, but if you think about the last time you went inside a fast food restaurant, just close your eyes and imagine that scenario. What color are you seeing? I want you to do this exercise, Richie. What color are you seeing? I know it's been like years. No.
Definitely been years. The one that I think is red, probably.
Yeah, I think red's a big one. But yeah, you've got McDonald's arches. Those are the yellow, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A, all these things are red, KFC red. But yeah, that yellow, orange, red family of colors makes people more hungry. Those colors stimulate appetite and even increase calorie consumption. They'll increase the amount of food that somebody purchases. So it's really wild fact. People eat less off of blue plates. Yeah. Did you hear that, Martha Stewart? We have some blue plates. We can use some. Just kidding. So in one study, people consumed fewer total calories when food was served on a blue background, even. Maybe it's the peacefulness. Maybe it's something hardwired in our brain that blue is, I don't know.
See, that's wild to me because, like,
it is wild.
A lot of times in nature, that red is usually like a deterrent.
Yeah, I would think like poison berries tend to be red.
But yeah, I mean, you like Wendy's, Checkers, Hardee's. I guess if you count orange, like Whataburger, like they're all red,
orange, yellow.
Yeah. Pizza Hut. Papa John's. I'm trying to think of one that isn't. I think they've all got red in there.
I don't know.
Those guys got me again.
Guys got you again.
I wasn't going to eat the garbage food, but then they waved the red flag in front of me, and I kind of had to. I'm not responsible for my susceptibility to the color red.
Now you are. You know too much.
I'm onto their game.
Yes. Okay. So let's just kind of wrap it all up, pull it all together, bring it all home. I think it's important at this stage of the game to mention supplements. Your natural hunger suppressants cannot be purchased in a bottle
or an injection.
Yep. I mean, to be fair, yes, they can, but that would be more of the scaffolding, until you
said natural hunger suppressants.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, there's no formal definition of natural, by the way. You could call anything natural.
It's not supernatural. So yeah, I get it. Makes sense to me.
Yeah. So your natural hunger suppressants are really about how you build your meals. Start with a soup, or at least don't start dehydrated. Have some water first. Feel that out. Are you really hungry? If it's mealtime, you don't necessarily need to, like if you do start with water first, you do want to give it like 15 to 20 minutes because it could, having water at the same time as your meal might not be the best idea if you have a history of acid reflux, for example. So start with soup or a water-rich food. That would be your non-starchy veggies on half your plate. Include lean protein, healthy fats, high fiber carbs. Chew slowly, like try to take 40 bites before you swallow. Like that's a great exercise in number one, in patience. And number two, it just really will help you digest your food better and will help with bloating potentially, and will give that ghrelin time to settle down, time to know like, oh, I'm eating, and help with that satiety kicking in. Then plate your food. So what I mean by that is keep the food at the stove, keep your bag of something that you're treating yourself with or whatever. Just do not eat directly from any container ever, whether it's the pot or the bowl or the bag or the box, whatever.
Or the container.
Or the fridge, don't eat directly from it. And another thing is wait before going back for seconds.
Okay.
Yes.
How long?
15 to 20 minutes before you feel fullness. So,
and that's to let that ghrelin kind of burn out, right?
Yes. And I've talked to you about this before, and you didn't like it when I reminded you to try to, you're like, shut your mouth, I'm hungry. So I'm like, I know you're hungry, but just try to give it time.
There might have been mac and cheese involved. I can't.
I cannot be responsible for what I have done when mac and cheese was okay. I see where we stand. I see. Yeah. And then there's also a hunger and satiety scale that you could use. I believe we talked about this before where, no, we haven't.
This sounds new to me.
We have. Okay. Sorry. I just talk about things in my head, I think. But where you can rate things on a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is Thanksgiving full and 0 is, I think, Chris Farley and Saturday Night Live, like, I'm starving, like somewhere in there. And so you want to start eating somewhere around like a 3 to a 4, where 0 is Chris Farley starving. And you want to stop when you're like at a 6 or a 7, where a 10 is Thanksgiving full. So you're just going to you don't want to get to the Thanksgiving full after you've eaten, and you don't want to start at the Chris Farley, I'm starving. And I think you'll find the closer you start to a 0, 1, or 2, the closer you'll end to an 8, 9, or 10. And it's better to stay in that middle range of the hunger and satiety scale. It's not about feeling that uncomfortably stuffed feeling. It's about, being mindful of what you're eating, stopping before you feel fully full. and ideally staying that way for hours before you feel hungry again.
So does this fall up under the kind of same bucket as don't go to the grocery store hungry?
Absolutely.
So if I'm below a 5,
horrible idea to go
have,
to the grocery store hungry.
Better to have something before going.
100%. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. It's a great tip. Good ad.
I pay attention.
Yay.
I've also gone to the grocery store hungry.
So have I. Well, as I said, when I'm perfect, I'll come and really tell everybody how to do it.
All right. So we don't normally do this, but we have developed a high protein, high fiber, vegan solution to hunger satiation. Do you remember those old Slim Fast?
Now, wait, before you go any further, we're not selling anything.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're marketing, to buy this.
Fair enough. No, what I'm getting at is normally we try and tell people like the composition of what they should be eating, not what they should be eating. Because different people have different flavors and tastes and all that other kind of stuff. So in general, if we can kind of spread the word about how to compose meals, that's more useful than a singular recipe. However, for some people, making a variety of meals is a huge pain in the butt, and they're okay with just eating the same thing, maybe for breakfast or lunch. Anyway, do you remember back in the 80s, those old Slim Fast shake for breakfast, shake for lunch, and a sensible dinner ads? Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of the same idea, but this guy has 62 grams of protein, less than 500 milligrams of sodium. That's not easy. And a whopping 56 grams of fiber. You divide
What's
it between
this guy?
We call it the incredible bulk. It looks terrible and it tastes okay, but it will absolutely fill you up. And even I, who have a tendency to overindulge at dinner, absolutely do not overindulge in dinner when I've had this for breakfast and lunch, and truthfully, probably a snack in between as well. It really makes it very easy to get those fiber goals in without a lot of planning. You just blend the thing up and get it down. It's not really a shake. It's kind of more like a pudding or yogurt adjacent. You got to chew it. You can't just drink it down.
And how many calories is in it? Do you remember?
It's a little over 1,200. And I think it's right around.
Some people might only make half the recipe at a time. It just depends on how they want to use it.
Well, I mean, truthfully, okay, let's play that game. If you're on a very calorie restricted diet, you're going to be starving. And this is a guaranteed way to get 56 grams of fiber and the vast majority of your protein requirements in slightly over 1,200 calories.
If they halved it, that would be 28 grams of fiber and 31 grams of protein, 250 milligrams of sodium, which, if they're only doing it, say, as one or two, as a small portion of what they're having, that's still, getting in a lot of.
It's very nutrient dense. It's got all of the right stuff for hunger stuff. And if you, like me, don't mind having the same thing all the time and just need to make sure you're getting the nutrition in, this is a viable solution to do that.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's really great for the person that, very much like you, gets involved in their day, gets involved in what they're in the middle of, and doesn't make time to have meals during the day. And so then at supper time, it's like all bets are off. The ghrelin hunger monster has come out to play in a bad way. So, yeah.
But we will have the recipe for the incredible bulk on the blog this week for those that are interested. And I think that's about it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in to the Diabetes Podcast, and we will talk to you again next week.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
If this episode helped you understand why you feel hungry and how to work with your biology instead of against it, then please share it with someone who needs the help as well. Your hunger isn't broken. You're not weak. You've just never been taught how your body works. Want to dive deeper? Check out the Diabetes Podcast blog, where we will not only have the links to the studies referenced in today's podcast, but also the recipe to the aforementioned incredible bulk. Until next time, take courage. You can do this. We can help.